Right, good morning and welcome to today's seminar, Cloud-Based Tools for Managing and Measuring Digital Marketing. This is the final webinar in a series of 6 which is brought to you by the Optimizing Business Broadband project. My name is Gareth Edwards and I'm a digital marketing consultant with the National B2B Centre. And today we're going to look at a variety of tools that will help you manage your web presence, understand something about your own digital marketing activity, and the competition for that matter, to get to grips with social media, and finally to see whether what you do is actually working. And we're going to look at some content management systems, some tools like Hootsuite, and maybe something familiar like Google Analytics. The Optimizing Business Broadband program is part of a wider project that's being sponsored and rolled out by the Shropshire and Staffordshire Councils. And there are two particular projects connecting Shropshire and Superfast Staffordshire, which are responsible for improving the infrastructure in the counties to allow people who aren't getting commercial connections to superfast broadband to actually be put on the waiting list, or in many cases to actually be connected up. The Optimizing Business Broadband part of this is actually help for businesses to see what the business benefits of using that fibre broadband are. And there's a number of areas of support that are available. Some of it's about raising awareness of the project in the first place, but the webinar is part of a process of providing learning, support and training to small and medium-sized businesses across the counties so that they can get the most out of that advanced infrastructure and actually help their businesses. And if you want to know more, we have www.optimizingbusinessbroadband.co.uk, which actually gives you a flavour of webinars, other materials, and this face-to-face consultancy that's also available. Today's webinar is a mix of slides and live demos. It's actually a focus on the stuff that I use on a day-to-day basis to help my clients and myself as well to manage and utilise the power of digital marketing. I'm taking a very thin slice across what's actually available. Of course, there's loads of tools, loads of processes, loads of support. And actually, if you care to look around, do searches, sign up, connect with organisations like Social Media Examiner, Smart Insights, eConsultancy, just to name a few, and you can get emails, you can follow them on Facebook, you can see what they're doing on Twitter. You can actually discover an absolute treasure trove of materials, tools, apps, all sorts of things to help. There is an opportunity to ask questions today. All you need to do is type your messages in the chat box, the question box on the right-hand side of the screen. If I can answer the questions as we go, if I fit in with the flow of the session, then I will do so. Otherwise, we'll make time at the end for questions if there are any. If actually you want some particular advice or help, maybe put your email into the questions and I can help you like that. But I will reiterate, and I'll probably mention it again, that there is face-to-face support available to actually help you with your business. So some of the things we talked about today, there may be some slight differences, or you might need some advice on how to use them in your sector or for your particular type of business, and that opportunity is still available for eligible businesses. Perhaps a little bit more detail on the agenda. The things that I'm actually going to cover today are, I'm going to look at Wordpress, which is an example of a content management system, website management. I'm going to look at Google Webmaster Tools, and by the way, I'm not being sponsored by Google, but you'll see there's a number of their services on this agenda. And that's because they're often free and they're also very powerful and very helpful. So I want to apologise for that. We look for alternatives where they are, and you will see that I've provided examples where I think that they're useful. So after Google Webmaster Tools, a very simple one actually, the Google Site Search command, which is really, really powerful little tool for website research. It's Google Alerts, which some people already know about, but really, really neat clever but quick way of understanding whether people are talking about you, for instance. Then something a bit more meaty, Hootsuite, as a social media dashboard and management tool, full of functionality, full of power, very helpful if you're trying to manage more than one social media site. And then finally, we kind of look at Google Analytics. Is all of the stuff that we've been talking about working? Are your blogs, are your website pages being seen? Are you generating visitor traffic? Is your social media activity working? Are your email campaigns working? So really powerful tool for telling you, measuring what's going on, and giving you all sorts of tips, really, in pointers to doing things better, perhaps. So let's kick off with content management systems. Content management systems, as the bullet point says, is about sort of managing all of your content, allowing you to create stuff, to publish it, in other words, to make it available on the web, to manage it in some sort of structured format, and to keep that material safe. Most websites nowadays are built with some sort of content management system too. Some older websites were built effectively on a page-by-page basis where you had to edit what's called HTML, it's the kind of code that underlies websites. It's not likely that your website, if you've had it developed by somebody else, is going to be done like that, although it might be. The reason I flag this up is people have websites built and they don't necessarily know kind of what the platform is, what the potential is, and particularly what they can do. So they've handed over responsibility to a website developer, which is fine, by the way. But perhaps they're a bit afraid to ask, or don't think that it's something that they can get involved with. But actually, content management systems are about giving, ordinary users, people with no particular technical knowledge, some control, some power over what they do and how their websites operate. Something that's important is that the kind of underlying technology, the real nuts and bolts of how websites work, the graphical part, the look and feel, the kind of styling, the way pages laid out, and the content, i.e. the words, the pictures, the video, etc., that you might want to add, are separate. And that's pretty important because it means that at any time you can change the way that your website looks. Somebody can change the template, add new logos, add new designs, change colours, change layouts and things like that without affecting the content. So it's not like you have to scrap everything and start again. What content management systems also offer is the ability to add really powerful functionality very easily as well. So if you suddenly decide you want a new image gallery, a different way of showing images which slides them in and plays music or something clever like that, then there are libraries of that code which you can add into your content management system and just incorporate that capability very easily. And because of the separation of the different elements, it's usually pretty easy to grow the site. So in other words, it's certainly easy to add new pages, but it's also usually easy to ensure that, for instance, say you have logins for customers, there's no problem in enabling a load more customers to log in or to have more products in an e-commerce site. So there's flexibility built into the idea of a content management system. For day-to-day users, the key aspects of content management systems, though, is that it's easy to edit pages, and also if you've got news or blog posts, it's really easy to change those as well. You don't need any technical knowledge. It's effectively the same as using a word processor. You can have control over doing that, and you should do. So instead of actually having to write things out and send it to somebody to upload for you, you can do it yourself. Now, why is that important? Well, it means that it's going to be, anything you put up is going to be fresh. It's going to be direct. It's going to be in your voice. It's going to be more compelling than if you always sort of thinking, I don't know what this is going to look like. I'm just going to give somebody else a brief and say, could you write something up for me? And I've used the word timely in that slide. and it means that you can create material which is literally up to date. Comment on something that's happened to you very recently. Comment on something that's happening in the news that you can associate your product or service with. And overall, all of this could save money because you can do it yourself. You have the opportunity to do it yourself. Now I'm going to focus, I'm going to demonstrate WordPress in a moment. And WordPress is the most popular content management system. As you can see, it's used on a lot of the top websites. Something else that's important about it is that it's open source. And that means that the basic license for it is free. There are lots of people who know how to use WordPress, partly because it is free, but it's also so popular. And there are also lots of free or very cheap or low-cost resources available. So that functionality that I mentioned previously, I want to be able to add some capability to display tweets or to have revolving banners on the home page. That sort of stuff can just be literally downloaded, press a button, and it will be working within a matter of seconds. You don't have to pay for it. The free part is important because sometimes you might talk to a web developer and they will offer you a content management system, but it may be something that they've put together themselves, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that, provided it's got the right functionality in it. But if it's something they put together themselves, then if you decide to change developer or they move on or do something different, there may be some issues about actually transferring your site to somebody else's control, because effectively it's their licensed software. So that's something to consider when people are offering you web development. It's just check who actually owns the software that it's being built with. WordPress has become the de facto standard because of the facilities and the benefits in terms of the usage that it's got. And like many other content management systems, it is very powerful, flexible, upgradability, etc. What I like about it is that there are lots of modules and lots of capabilities, which means that you can access the search engine optimization features of a website or a web page really easily. And that means that you can engage in SEO. You don't necessarily have to pay somebody else to do it. And you can also connect the social media activity by being able to put on share buttons and things like that, to promote the fact that you're using Facebook, Twitter, etc. You'll even have feeds, as I mentioned, tweets on the side of the web page. So that sort of thing is really helpful. There are other tools, listed a few there, Joomla, Weebly, hosting companies like 123 and LCN will often offer a website builder, as they might call it, which is also a content management system. Drupal and Magento, that I've listed there, are very specifically e-commerce platforms. So if you're setting up an online shop, they may well be the choices that you have. Of course, there are other ones. Actinic comes to mind as an e-commerce platform. So lots of choice. Let's quickly go online. I'll just give you a short demo of what WordPress looks like. It means that we have to go to the internet. And if I put up this one, so this is actually my website, which has got some blogging capability on there. And just to show you how simple it is, I've opened up into a sort of dashboard. It takes through to that. It won't take too long. So the dashboard tells me a few bits of information, 258 posts. There are 7 pages on the website, so there's not many static pages, but quite a lot of blogs or news items, as you might want to call them, some activity, telling you what I've done recently. But if I want to add a new post, click Post, Add New, as you might expect. So, enter title, so this is the title of my blog post, and I call it OBD webinar. And on here, just a short message delighted to be hosting a webinar for the OBB project. I'll leave it at that. Now I'm going to add in a picture. Pictures into 1,000 words. And I already had a screenshot of the webinar invite. And this is a particularly exciting blog. So we have an image, we have some text, and here, Wordpress SEO by Yoast, it says. This is one of these modules that I've been able to download. And a couple of really important things are the SEO title. So I can now tell Google directly what this is about. That's digital marketing webinar. And the description, which shows up in searches. Online seminar with hints and using digital marketing tools. Now it's really important to be able to actually fill that information in. Something else that I could do here, alternative text. So that's a label on that picture which Google can read. It can't read any of the text in that image, but it can read that label, that alternative text. Good. I'm going to update that. Press publish. I'm not sure it's going to take a few minutes. And then view post so that we can see what's happened. And there it is. So not a particularly exciting one, but you can see how quickly I've been able to construct that and publish it. And all I needed to do was actually type the text and add the picture. Everything else was already set up in the template. I didn't need to do anything else about that. And just if we scroll down on this screen, and this site is a Twitter feed. So you can see tweets, recent posts, which are these blog posts, and those are what are called in WordPress widgets, and we just downloaded those with the capability to do that from a central library, connect on social media. It's all built in, so it's really easy, really flexible. I could change any of those things just by clicking a few buttons. So WordPress is not the only tool that does this. It's really, because of its characteristics, because it's open source, because it's being supported by so many people, it certainly should be one of the major choices, or on your list of choices, for tools to use. So the second thing I wanted to talk about, so we see that the potential for actually putting out content and making our websites possibly more effective, for certainly having more materials, is pretty enormous using a content management system. The question which you should pose, maybe you will now, is, well, what does Google think about what we've done? If we talk about Google Analytics, we can see what people think, what our search and bloggers think, but what does Google think? And it's important to know because you've probably heard people talking about panda, penguin, hummingbird. Google all the time is trying to understand what's going on out there It's looking to enhance its ability to know what websites are about, but it's also looking to decide what it doesn't like. So it doesn't like spam, it doesn't like hack sites, it doesn't like slow sites, it doesn't like sites which have got the same word repeated loads and loads of times, it doesn't like sites which have got links from all sorts of weird and wonderful directories which are meaningless. And it's provided you, me, with a tool, through the Webmaster tool, to flag up problems, to show if it finds things that it doesn't like, provide a certain amount of advice about what to do with it, and give you information about site search. And hopefully if I click this button, we'll go to an example, and I'll just show you some of the things that Webmaster tools can flag up. There we go. We should get a dashboard appearing just in a moment. And even on there you can see it says call errors, site errors. So it's actually telling you, even if you don't know what those things mean, and actually I'm not sure that I do, it doesn't matter. If there are problems, it will tell you. Okay. In fact, the URL errors 28 knockdown means that Google's seen some pages which must have existed in the past, but now if you try to go to those pages, they don't appear to exist. So that's something I should look at. It gives us some information about queries, like how many impressions, how many times did our site appear in the search results for particular queries. Now I'll go into that a little bit more when we look at analytics. It will tell us sitemap, so how many URLs have been submitted. So basically you can tell Google quite quickly that you've got some pages that are about particular topics. And it's given us a sense of, okay, well, you told us about these pages, but here's what we've actually indexed. This is what Google has got in its records. And so I look down here. There's a number of different things that we could look at. Let me just pick out a few. HTML improvements. I said it gives you advice. Now, fortunately on this side, it didn't detect any content issues, but it might have done. It will tell you if it sees something that it doesn't like. The search traffic I will go into shortly. Index status. Total pages indexed 565. Now, if that was 0 or 10, then I'd know that there was a problem. In other words, Google hasn't read all of the pages, it hasn't read all of the pages. So knowing that Google is looking and has actually sort of seen what we're doing is really important. Content keywords. Okay, Google is giving us a list of the words that it's seen on that site and how significant they are. In other words, what priority we've given them. Marketing is at the top, which is really good. If it said something like linen basket, I'd be really disappointed because that's not what I'm trying to focus on. So just that in its own right, that list should clearly contain words that you think people are searching for. Crawl errors, that's a bit more detail of what's on the dashboard. Oh yeah, so not found. So it's actually going to tell us what those pages are. So I can now go in and look for specifically, but there's obviously a problem with that page. Another thing I'd like to flag up is just other resources, because I mentioned speed. Page speed insights. The speed at which a page loads is actually becoming really important as an indicator of where you might appear in the rankings. So on mine there's some advice. Should put reduce server response time. Now, that's obviously something to do with the hosting that I've got, so I need to check that out. But again, there's a load of information there. Now, I don't understand all of this, but I can work out enough of what it's about to tell me either I need to do something or I need to get somebody that's more technically involved to sort it out for me. But that resource is free, and you don't need to be looking at it every day, partly because you get emails if there's anything really seriously important. So I'll certainly be looking at that once a week. The next thing on my list is the site search command. It's probably the simplest thing I'm going to talk about today, because it's a really quick way of assessing both your website and other people's, and those other people could be competitors, suppliers, customers, anybody you like. And it is literally a search which involves typing the word site and colon and then a website URL into Google. And it displays a load of really, really useful information, and I'll go and just demonstrate it in a moment. Particularly number of pages. I'll tell you why I think that's important in a moment. And also the page title and meta description for each page. So when we played around with Wordpress, I deliberately filled that information in, and we can see what that information is when we do the site command. There are other tools which not necessarily perform this function, but actually give you more insights into, again, both your website and maybe competitors. Web Developer Toolbar, which is something that you add into your browser, and it's available for Chrome and Internet Explorer. A product called Nibbler, which will give you a kind of quick overview of how your site's performing, and again, provide some advice on what to do if there's something wrong. Builtwith.com will tell you literally how a site's built. So if you don't know whether you've got a content management system running your site, you can use Builtwith.com and it should tell you. And another tool called Open Site Explorer, which actually allows you to understand how many links a website has. And that's, again, a really important part of search engine optimization. Instead of actually showing you this slide, I will go online, back onto the internet and show you live, because it's quite interesting. So, just to show that it's actually just a Google command, site www.nvwc.co.uk, which is the National B2B Centre's website. And the first thing that I would normally look at is how many results. So it's a bit like in Headmaster Tools. If I did it on my own site, if I knew that I got quite a lot of pages, not maybe it's that number, I'd look on there and just verify that Google is actually indexing them. So if that number was 10, I'd know that there was a big problem, because I know that there's more pages than that on this particular website. And I'd really want to go and look at what the problem is very quickly, because basically Google would be not seeing all of the content, not being able to connect people who've done a search with our website either. So it's actually really important. To some extent, this is not a rule, but it's helpful thought, and that is normally sites that have got more pages have probably got more authority to Google. That doesn't always work, because if you've got 1,000 pages of rubbish, then Google will still see them as rubbish. But if you're comparing yourself against a competitor, for instance, and you've only got 5 pages which say home, about us, products, services, contact, and your competitor has got loads of pages which are providing information on how to do things, advice, news, blogs, etc., that will be one of the reasons why they are appearing higher than you in the rankings. Because essentially, there's a load of really good stuff on there, potentially. Google reads it and says, oh yeah, these guys know what they're about. They've given it more evidence. They've given Google more evidence that they are experts in a particular field, for instance, or that they are knowledgeable about or relevant to a local area. If they've just got more pages, as I say, that doesn't always follow, but it's often a pretty good indicator. The other information that you can see, if I put the mouse here, that's the page title. So that's being displayed. So that's partly going to tell me whether a site is being optimized. Okay. And also gives me some indication of what it's optimized for. So the example I gave earlier on, we could look at an accountant's website, and if it had got 10 pages and it just said about us, products, services, kept mentioning it, if the name of the company was always at the front of this page title, I'd know that their site hadn't been optimized properly. Or if it's a client, I could tell them that the site hasn't been optimized properly, because these are what it should contain. If it's just to some extent here, it should contain the words, the keywords or the search terms which people are actually looking for. Okay, so about us is not going to be very high on anybody's list to search for. If that page title instead said accountancy company for Black Country, for instance, or for Stafford or Shrewsbury or wherever, then it's much more likely that it would appear in the search rankings for a particular search like that. The information in black underneath is the meta page description, and that's important because you can, if you see, you can edit that, and that stands out on that page as like advertising copy. So on here, most of these are being put in specifically. Download National B2B Centre e-business articles for free. Check out our newsletter, blog, LinkedIn group, and Twitter posts for more. So it's probably being written deliberately to make sense on the page. If you don't put that information in, then Google will just pick out the first text that it finds potentially, and it could be gobbledygook. So this is a way of analysing whether our own sites are being set up correctly. But as I say, you can actually look at competitors, both to see why they're worse, if you're lucky, or to see why they're better. Because you can go through and look at the way that they've actually constructed their page titles and their descriptions, and I wouldn't necessarily copy it, but you could see why that they might be showing up much higher in the search results. So it's a really simple but effective little tool. While we're on it, if you're trying to work out whether your site actually contains some particular information, if you haven't got search functionality within your website, you can also use this to find references to a particular search term. So now press enter. Okay, so 60 pages which actually reference e-business in some way, both in the page title or in the description or in the body of the text. So it can be quite a useful tool if you've got a really big website and you're trying to work out, that's what's being put in there in terms of content before or what Google sees, then this particular tool can actually be really helpful. So simple but effective, I think I'd call it. Another Google tool, this is a relatively simple one as well, it's called Google Alerts. Basically, this is like doing a search where it's stored. And Google basically emails you, it can be every day or once a week, when it finds a result about the topic that you've typed in. And it's looking in news, it's looking in blogs. You sometimes find things on social media as well, but it's mainly on web pages, news sites and blogs. And I use it, I will put in essentially my company's name, the B2B Centre, or a client company name to see if anybody's talking about us. So get a bit of the buzz. Or your own name, for that matter. You can put in the products or services. You can put in competitor names. You can put in the name of particular industries, for instance. You can put in the name of any search term that you like. So it's useful for researching what's going on by company, but I use it as a way of finding out more information about, say, articles, blogs, tweets. I want to write press releases and things like that. I've got a set of these set up, just telling me what's going on. I could go and do a search, but this actually drops in my news in my inbox. But there are loads of tools which possibly do more than Google Alerts. I've noted down IFTTT, so you can actually build quite sophisticated, what they call them, recipes, which will work in particular circumstances. Stupid, Listly, Feedly will all go away and look for information in different places, and Feedly, particularly on social media, and effectively help you to construct articles like from scratch. And they're quite, they are quite useful, but they're more complicated, which is why I tend to use Google Alerts rather than those perhaps more functional items. So again, it's probably easier for me to show you what it looks like. So Google Alerts, so it's google.co.uk alerts. So if you're signed into Google, then this will come straight up. So let's monitor the web's interesting content. You can see that I've got some things set up here. Company names. Scroll down that list. There's topics like anaerobic digestion. Somewhere there in there there's sewage plants, depending on who I'm doing work for. But in order to create one, monitor the web for interesting new content. There we go. That's actually relevant to somebody I'm working for. Got a list of options. How often? I can change the time. I can look at different sources. So keep it on automatic to look for all of them. Language is going to be in English. Obviously, if you're working in overseas markets, you can change that. And region. In fact, this is a new facility because it used to just bring back the global results, which was okay, but one of mine was W Business. There's a surprising number of people in the United States whose name is W, so I kept getting news items reported about, John Dudley, head of a particular company. The fact that I can regionalise it by country has actually really helped me and narrowed down the responses, obviously, that we get back. Looking at the United Kingdom from that. Only the best results. So just Google will be filtering it in some particular way. So I'm going to actually go for all results. So I might actually get stuff in there that I don't particularly want, but I'm just going to get more information. This is just a preview of the sorts of things that you will get. Farmer's Guardian, but some of these are US as well. This is probably because I haven't been particularly picky on the results, blogs, etc. All of those could be quite interesting as sources and material for stuff that I'm writing for clients or to see what's going on in the market. I create alerts, that one's now in the list, and I will start receiving emails, which I can click on, have a quick look or delete. You're not obliged to actually look at this stuff. But I found this really powerful to say there are more sophisticated tools, but this one works really well for me. And you can change those searches. You can you can put in qualifiers, put them in quotes and things like that. To make them more specific. So any advanced search operator that's available when you do a normal Google search is available in that alert program too. So I should devote, we've got 20 odd minutes left, I should devote a bit of time to Hootsuite, which is actually quite a complex program. So Hootsuite is a dashboard management tool, which is mainly useful where you want to manage more than one social media site. So if you've just got a Twitter account, you might as well just use the Twitter account. But if you're using Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, maybe a blog, I think it goes with Instagram, Pinterest, quite a few other major social media sites, then just flicking between them can be a problem. And if you happen to have more than one Twitter account, then there might even be issues as you sort of flick back and forth, are you logged into the right site, etc. Basically, I can combine everything into one place and manage it. The great thing is that the free version, I think allows it, I've said 3, it might be 4, so you don't actually have to pay for this if you don't want and still get quite a lot of functionality. I do pay for it, but it's not very expensive. I think it's $6 to $7 a month, which works out as something like £3.50 or £4, which when I show you it, you'll see that doesn't seem a lot to pay for what you get. The key features are, I find it easier to use all of those sites in Hootsuite, all of the sites that we've mentioned, than actually go to particularly Twitter, than to go on to Twitter itself, because I don't know about you, but you have to keep flicking between different pages, and I can never find what I want. It's easier on here. It's got some really powerful research features, which kind of adds to what we've just talked about with Google Alerts. But the key thing is that, apart from the fact that you're managing them all in one place, is that you can schedule posts. And this is a real sort of benefit, if you're not tied to a laptop or a tablet all of the time. You can actually, at least some of your output, sit down on a Monday morning, set out a load of tweets, LinkedIn status updates, Facebook posts, whatever, spend an hour on it, or 10 minutes, however long you want to spend, and know that during the week or over the next period of time, what you want to say will be going out there. At the right time, you've done your analysis, if your customers are looking at, midday, for instance, okay, well, we can do posts around those times. You don't actually have to be sat there tweeting. It does not mean that you can never, or that you can stop yourself going onto Twitter and seeing whether people are talking to you and entering into conversations, but it does mean that you can sort of cut out some of the real back-breaking work that can be involved with social media management. Again, let's go live so you can see what it looks like. So, across the top of the page, you'll see a series of tabs, each of which, in this case, represents a customer or an organisation and one or other of their social media outlets. So this is Harris Smith Marketing, is my sort of personal one. And then underneath that tab, a series of columns, each representing, as you can see, home feed, which is tweets sent by the people I'm connected to, sent tweets, etc., etc. So it's all in one place. Everything that I wanted to see is in one place. So that in its own right is pretty useful. I'm going to highlight just a couple of bits of functionality which I find useful. I've got some search. You can do this in Twitter, by the way, but it's just easier to see in here. So I've got a search set up that's looking out for biogas, anaerobic digester, and gasification. These are useful topics in this sector. And that column just lists, anytime anybody does a tweet anywhere on those topics, it will appear in this column. So at that point, I can actually find new people to connect with, or I can look at that and go, hey, that's really interesting. I'm going to retweet that. I'm going to share that with my network to show them that I'm kind of interested in this topic, for instance, to give them the benefit of our knowledge. Also to tell these guys that we're interested in what they do as well. So that in its own right is quite useful. The most powerful part is here, though. Let me do it. I will go through the motions of retweeting now. With Hootsuite, I can actually edit the retweets, which you can't do in Twitter. But the key part of this is this button here, because I can do what's that scheduling. So I can decide that that's going to go out next Monday at 9:50 a.m. because I know that's when the people that I'm connected with will be going online. So I schedule that, and it will just appear at that particular date and time. The interesting thing is, if you've got a number of people in your organisation, this becomes a management tool in a different way, because that stored tweet, whoever does it, is available to other people in the team so that they could go in and edit it. And again, that can be quite useful if you've got somebody, maybe you've got somebody junior writing posts, and this functionality is available across all platforms, not just Twitter, that you can actually see what they're doing and check it out. So if you always insist that they schedule it, then you've got that added level of control. There are all sorts of other bits of extra functionality on here, which you don't have time to go in. I find it easier to use this than most of the kind of native sites themselves, simply because the sort of layout is pretty clear. There are some measurement tools associated with this, because if I add a link, it turns it into a shortened version. In this case, they're called hourly. That's how they appear in the tweet. And basically, then I can actually go back in and see how many people clicked on a particular link, for instance. So I can get a sense not only of whether people shared, mentioned, commented on the tweets themselves, but I can start to see whether they clicked on that link. And as we sort of move closer to looking at Google Analytics, the fact that we're looking at something that's happening not just within social media, but has a kind of destination, becomes really important. Because it is possible to get a bit carried away with the fact that you've got loads of followers and fans and things like that, and forget that obviously the purpose of all this is usually to generate some business. And that might be that you've got an e-commerce shop, or for many people who are service-based, or perhaps in sort of more B2B areas, that your website is the place that contains all the details. So you really want to know that you're flagging up or capturing people's interest with social media. But what you really want to do is take them using links to the place where the kind of the need is, in one way or another, either a purchase or additional information, and start to see actually what's happening there. So Hootsuite, a very powerful tool. There are other tools. Flutter is actually a simpler tool which will do the scheduling part of it for you, pretty much for free. But TweetDeck, SocialUmp and Smart Social are similar in that they provide all of that functionality. I think SocialUmp and Smart Social are actually designed really for bigger companies, enterprise software, and they are designed to allow more people working on projects at the same time. And I think they probably provide more management information than Hootsuite does. Well, Hootsuite will, you just have to pay extra for it. SocialUmp and Smart Social in particular kind of have that stuff built in, but they're perhaps more expensive to license in the first place. So yeah, Hootsuite, one of a number of examples, but it's something that I use absolutely every day. So finally, we're on to Google Analytics. And Google Analytics is a free tool from Google, obviously. If you haven't already got it, then get it. And basically, you need to add a piece of code to your website. If you have a content management system, that process is really easy, because somewhere within your WordPress, there's a place that you can just type, literally cut and paste a piece of code from Google Analytics into this place, and it will all be sorted for you. If you haven't got a content management system, it's a bit more fiddly, but it's not a difficult process. In fact, Google, I should have mentioned Google Webmaster Tools as well. The fact you have to add a piece of code either onto your website or certainly onto the file structure of your hosting. What Google Analytics delivers back is a tremendous amount of information. it particularly tells you how visitors, how people are getting to your website. In the sense, it will tell you what mechanisms they're using, so is it search, social media, email, but it also gives you indication of, for instance, where they are. So geographically, or what tools do they use? Are they coming to you using a desktop machine, or are they using a tablet or a mobile device? And I'll show you examples of that in a moment. I highlighted that because for many of you that will be something quite critical to start looking at. So Google, which is rumored, will be testing out to see whether your website is kind of mobile ready. You don't have to have an app, you don't have to have anything too sophisticated, but just because your website might not warrant it, but ensuring that it could display on a mobile device of some sort is certainly a step to take. If you haven't looked at your website on a phone or a tablet, then maybe you should try that, because it may be that it just doesn't work, or some elements of it don't work very well. So mobile is going to be important, but it will tell you devices, location, down to city level, which if you are a local business and you're expecting, clearly you want most of your business to come from an area within sort of 10 miles. So if your website visitors are coming from Newcastle and you're based in Ludlow, then that might be either an opportunity or a problem. An opportunity in the sense that somebody in Newcastle may be interested in what you do, so how can you maximise that? A problem in that you actually really expect your visitors to be coming from other parts of Shropshire. So apart from how visitors are getting to your website, the next important thing is, what do they do when they get there? I've mentioned bounce, trawl and buy. Bounce in the sense of, do they come onto the site, have a look and then just leave? This is usually not what you want. So they trawl round, do they go and look at other pages? If you've got an e-commerce site, do they buy something? Now clearly you know that they bought something if a transaction has taken place. But what Google Analytics can do is actually track people right through the purchase process. So you can see if people drop out, and that gives you an opportunity then to then decide, clearly I need to look at what's going on. Is there something that we put in place which is putting people off that we haven't noticed before, for instance? There are a variety of other tools which can give some of the information that Google Analytics does. So your hosting provider may give you some statistics to do with visits, and even give you some information about sources. It's usually not as detailed, and you don't get all of the facilities that Google Analytics provides, like, for instance, automatic reporting. A couple that I will mention, these are just examples of particular types of analytics tools. One is A1 WebStat, which actually can give you extra information about, it may actually tell you exactly who has visited. Okay, it looks at the IP address, we're getting technical here, of the visitor, and they've got a database which they can cross-reference against, and it can give you some input. There's a variety of tools a bit like this. A1 WebStat is one I happen to use, but it can give you information on the customer. It really only works in the B2B environment, and it doesn't provide a complete picture normally, but it can provide better information than it basically tell you this. Perhaps some of the big companies you're dealing with coming onto your website and having a look. Crazy Egg is an example of what are called heat maps. So this can be useful to actually see what people like and dislike on your page, where they click, where literally kind of where they move their mouse. It's very clever how it works, but it can help you with the design, with the layout, particularly of e-commerce. And it can be simple things like moving a picture from the left-hand side of the page to the right-hand side could make a difference in the number of people who actually go through the sales process. So that's a screenshot of an actual page. But again, I may as well go live and show you some actual information. So this is the B2B website. Let me go back to the audience overview page. So at the very basic level, it will give us information about the number of visitors. Okay, so this is the kind of overall perspective of what's gone on. I've set this is quite a long view. I can change the date range. So this is going back to May, just so that you can see more more detail. Telling us how many sessions there were, so basically how many visits, the number of users. So clearly the discrepancy there is telling us that some people came back, the number of pages that people looked at in total, and what that equates to as an average, session duration, minutes, and the bounce rate. The overall bounce rate is quite poor on the site. So there are clearly some places that people are coming in and they're going, no, I don't like this. Or if we want to be charitable, they're actually looking and getting what they need without having to go to another page on the website. Normally, you'd be looking for the bounce rate to be 50%, because you're not going to satisfy everybody's requirements for perhaps they get what they need just by looking at the page. Just in terms of what else you can get out of it, if you've got a lot of traffic coming to your website, or perhaps you're running an email campaign, the real-time view can be interesting, because it will literally tell you who's using the website now. Okay, so you can sort of, maybe during the day, you could look at that and see that you're getting a lot of visitors from overseas as you go through the day. So maybe US visitors start coming in at 4 o'clock or whatever. You can actually see that happening live. But I will highlight just a couple of things on here which I think are particularly important. One is the geography, so location. So we get a world map, I think, first time through. So actually I want to look more specifically at the UK. And we can see, so England, Ireland, Scotland, etc. I'm going to click on the city, and this will actually give us a list of the places, the actual places where traffic's coming from. So you can see it goes down to, there's a sort of Leicester, not the largest cities, but you can break it out at quite a low level of detail. And we've got all of that information about bounce rates. You can see whether there are any differences between territories. So it happens Liverpool, there's your bounce rate was quite a lot lower than for other places. I can't pretend to tell you why that should be. But if locality is important to you, you can start to get some of that information. On the mobile side, let's just click the overview. We can see that for the B2B center, actually predominant traffic is coming from desktop. Other clients that I've got analytics for, particularly in the consumer sector, that would be quite the opposite. In fact, looking this morning, one client who sells consumer items, it was more than 50% coming from tablet and mobile, mainly tablet, and something like 40% I think coming from desktop PCs. So in that case, knowing that your website works correctly on a tablet computer is really, really important. On the acquisition side, and this is important, what this means is where's traffic coming from, how are you getting traffic. Analytics breaks it out into a number of different categories. Organic search is where people have typed something into Google to find it. Direct is nominally where somebody has actually typed in your website address, although it's not actually particularly accurate, and this will actually include some other items, probably to do with our email campaign, even though it says email there. Referrals are traffic coming from places like directories, or maybe if you're lucky from other people's blogs, so places where there's a link to your website that people have clicked through from. And social is, as it suggests, details of, I'll click that, then break it out by social media side. So Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc., etc. Now, B2B Centre doesn't go that big on social media, so the numbers are relatively low. But you can see that it does report it. So if you put a lot of effort into a social media campaign, it's great that you've got more Facebook fans. You may have loads of interactions, and that's great too. But if the numbers coming through to your website are actually low, then that might be a cause of concern. Although I would actually look to see whether there are any increases in organic traffic at the point that you're doing a social media campaign. Because I have seen examples where, strangely, people don't click the link, and will actually go and do a search still. So the correlation isn't always direct between a link and the visit, clicking that link in social media. There may be other things going on. But nevertheless, in those channels, I can start to see what's happening at the moment. And yes, if I then spend more time doing search engine optimization, doing email campaigns with social, I can start to see the changes and see what benefits it makes. So we are running out of time on this. I'll make a few extra points and then close to see if there are any questions. If you're running AdWords, then that shows up in here as well. And if you're using MailChimp, you've got Mailer, for instance, those email campaigns will also show up. So sometimes people will say, oh yeah, we had a great email campaign because loads of people opened emails, and they don't necessarily know what happened afterwards. Analytics will give you that information. So there was a particular campaign, summer school campaign. I don't know how many people opened the email, but I do know that 287 actually came to the website. I then know that 55% of them bounced, so they may or may not have got what they wanted, but half of them, so 140 odd, actually went on and looked at least one other page on the website. And you'll notice I click, and I can keep clicking. You can see behaviour. I can start to actually, if I want to, track some of these things right down to the pages that people looked at. So it's worth thinking about if this is piquing your interest. You can actually go through and have more detailed Google Analytics training, because there's so much stuff that you can do. I'll end on Google Analytics on this one. The search engine optimization option here goes back. This is information coming from Google Webmaster Tools, and the two things are merged in this particular option. What's important about it is you can see a list of queries here, and then impressions, clicks, and average position. So this is saying that when somebody types in B2B, or people, process, technology, our website appeared somewhere in the ranking. This will tell you words which people are using. You may not have optimized for them, and you may not be aware that anybody's actually interested in that. But your site has got some sort of presence. I would look at that and go, hey, if we're not actually getting click-throughs or our position is low, we need to do something with our social, with our search engine optimization. So this is a really powerful tool to show you what's happening, what are people searching for, where are you appearing, and what do people actually click on you. So we can do things, change page title, we can add more content, change page description so that if we appear in a search, we stand out more, lots of stuff that we can act on as part of that. So Google Analytics is a really, really powerful tool. It's telling you what's going on, and it gives you the information that you need to basically act on it. So, final thoughts as we just come to close. We have covered a lot of ground. An hour is not enough to talk about all of these things. I wanted to give you a flavour of what's available. Everything I've shown, you can play with. You can't break these things. Google Analytics, you can just keep clicking. It's really good help facilitator on all of the Google stuff at least, and on Hootsuite, for instance. You play around with them, and you see what happens. If you do searches for how do I use Google Analytics, for instance, there are tutorials through Google and through other people. YouTube or text-based. There's loads of help to get you, more experience or to answer specific questions. Look out for other tools. Sign up for newsletters. Follow some of the key people I mentioned already, Social Media Examiner, etc. And you will be told about. For instance, I've got an email, fantastic image tools. I'd love to have shown you those today. I get that sort of stuff all the time, and so can you. Finally, use the OBB website to get our guides. There's a lot of information on there. Help with how to use LinkedIn, for instance. Help on search engine optimization. There's a fantastic search engine optimization workbook. And if you looked at all of this and thought, I'd really like to know more, I'd like to do more on a particular area, for goodness sake, request direct support. Get that face-to-face support. Make it specifically meaningful to you. So, thank you for your attention. Look forward to hearing from you maybe as part of the face-to-face process or for any of our other events. And that's me for this morning. That's Gareth Edwards signing out. And thank you and goodbye.